Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it and give this video a like. Thank you.
Podcast below in the description. Subscribe to that as well.
We're presented by our friends, John, Tito's Handmade Vodka.
Yes, have yourself a Tito's soda this weekend.
Crafted to be savored responsibly.
Let's just dive into Trey's first half. People are going to be talking about that for the next 48 hours. So the build up, right? It's good that if that had just happened Saturday afternoon, I'm not saying people wouldn't pay attention, but the moment it gets out and people start talking and text change, like he's going to play the whole half. Like I think people are kind of building their day the next couple days now. Like you're actively thinking, I need to be around my TV at 5:30.
Yeah, it's kind of 30 snaps is what Kyle Shanahan said he's going to get. And if he doesn't get quite around that number, he might even start the third quarter. Kind of crazy. It's not an NFL Network. The NFL Network game at night is Los Angeles, which I understand. But 30 snaps, so Garoppolo's going to get the first series. Trey's going to play only with the twos. Only with the twos, but he is going to get a half of football. So we're going to get a lot to watch from him.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot.
Is that going to be 16, 17 throws potentially?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a lot of runs. It's just going to be a lot of fucking plays. Like that's going to feel like a lot. Series in, series out. And listen, once Mahomes comes out, Henning could be going 3 and out. Like you could just get the ball back relatively fast.
Yeah.
Unless Andy's dialing up plays. Hopefully Andy's a little off, right? And they're just not hitting. Like I want Trey to have the ball. It's a great evaluation. Like after this game, and Kyle alluded to this when we were just driving back from practice, like listen, in a couple years, there's not going to be a soul that probably remembers this game, right?
Yeah.
But come Sunday and Monday, it's the only thing people are going to be talking about.
Right.
And I think the one thing Kyle is good at, he could just fake it, right? And most coaches might not even talk like that, but he's just being honest. Like come Sunday, when fucking our podcast will do its biggest number since the draft, it'll be one of the biggest topics in the sport, how he looked. And everyone's going to have an opinion. Good, bad, what he looked like, the good plays. Did you see that one throw? What a throw? Or, God, there's a lot to work on. Or, Jesus, he doesn't know how to slide. Like, there's going to be a take right now that we have no clue that's coming because we don't really have we don't even know. I mean, you and I have been at some of these practices, but as we'll get, I'm sure, later on the show, practice has not much in common with the game. I mean, there just really isn't. You know?
No.
I mean, it's not even close.
Yeah.
So it's like whenever he does these 360s in the pocket and rolls out and hits it looks awesome when me and you were standing there and the refs flying by us. In the real game, he might trip as 4 guys hit him in the legs. I don't know.
And Tavon Wilson's like, that's not a completion. Even though we caught it, I would have killed him in the ribs, right?
Yeah.
That window doesn't stay open as long as it does in practice because I'm going to hit the guy or make a play on the ball. The one thing, I'll disagree with Kyle a little bit, although I think he's generally right. You forget what happens in this game. I mean, no one's forgotten what Jalen Hurd did in the preseason. We've been talking about it for 2.5 years, right?
But he hasn't played.
Right. But what comes next is part of what, if Trey Lance performs in a way that makes people who haven't been able to see him in practice talk about him the way those of us that have seen him in practice, right? All of a sudden mooch all Sunday long on NFL Network and Baldy. And like if that's where the conversation goes and they're playing his highlights constantly and they're great plays and all of a sudden it's like, wait a second, then that is something that you will reference back and go, that was the moment when things changed a little bit. But part of that's also dependent on what Garoppolo looks like, and we're not going to get to see him much.
I would say the only way it becomes like a moment in time, if he were to go out and throw 3 or 4 touchdowns, you would just talk forever, however his career went, especially if it went well. Like, remember the first time he ever fucking played a game for the 49ers in the preseason? It would be part of his legend or whatever. If it goes shitty, though, where it'll be definitely a huge talking point on Sunday, Monday. But, like, with time, that stuff gets forgotten. Like, no one still talks about, remember the Denver preseason game for Jimmy? No, because they went on to go to the Super Bowl. You know, it's not even a talking point. It can go shitty, and that would be, good for content. But it doesn't get remembered if then things start going well for him or he just has some better moments. To me, it only gets remembered if it's, like, historically great. And you're just like, oh, my God. Because then the momentum of the starting kind of comes from the crowd. Like I've said, the thing about preseason is it's the first time with quarterbacks, we'll get into Fields a little bit later, is like the fans, who are the majority of human beings, right? The people that, when these games do a 30 share on Saturday, that means all these people that have not watched anything in practice beside what you can find on the internet, it is their first time to glimpse it. And they kind of help create a conversation, even though they're not making the conversation, because it's just clear what everyone's talking about, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's their first time to see him.
Right.
And they make the league go round.
It's true. Now, there's some other things besides how does he look, right? Mike McDaniel mentioned Wednesday that Trey Lance has never taken a play call in his helmet with fans in the stands, right? Now, it's not Seattle on the road, week 1, or New Orleans, but that's a new experience for him. We saw on Tuesday he mismanaged a red zone situation. How does he handle the play clock's running down? The headset cuts off. We got to get to the line of scrimmage, snap the ball, and make a decision. How does he handle running with younger players around him, leading them? That's one benefit of playing with the twos and not all the starters, is that he does have to kind of maybe to a greater degree tell these guys what to do, as opposed to Kittle and Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk all knowing exactly what to do. There's a little more leadership required, right, when he's running with the twos. Does he protect himself? They're going to run him. What does he do when he's made 8 yards? Does he slide? Does he go down? Does he get blasted? What happens if he gets blasted?
Does he try to truck someone?
Does he try to truck someone?
Because it's not out of the realm of possibility he can get into a situation, non-linebacker or defensive lineman, where he looks at the DB and goes, I'm much fucking bigger than this guy. And we've talked about he has some Cam's bigger, but just his running style is kind of Cam-ish. Cam realized early. Now, it caught up to him, right, the last couple years, and I don't blame him. Wait, this little safety's going to try to tackle me? Like, I'm not. I don't even need to waste time.
Remember Derek Carr's moment?
I'm going right over him.
Remember Derek Carr's moment? It wasn't even getting blasted.
Was that with Pac-Man?
He tried to stiff arm Pac-Man in the helmet.
Yeah, what happened? Oh, he dislocated a finger or something?
He got slammed to the ground.
Yeah, that was a bloodbath, that game. Yeah, it's going to be just, I'm fascinated to watch. Like, I have a pretty good idea, but, like, his deep ball to me right now, we were talking about at practice, can be a little hit or miss. For a guy with a strong arm, sometimes it flutters in the air. Mm-hmm. Like you said, and Kyle mentioned this, listen, he does not slide or anything at practice. And it's smart because it wouldn't be a full speed slide. We talk about what we would do in that situation, but shit, I don't know. It's easy. It's one thing when we're both sitting up and we have sunflower seeds in our mouth and just bullshitting at 7:00 at night in the meeting room. Like, what happens when the Chiefs linebacker's right there? Is he sliding? Is he firing out of bounds? Whatever. Just, you have to be safe. Like, it was, Michael Vick did not know how to slide. RG3 could not slide. Like, some guys.
John, let's take a moment. Tell everybody about deck.com/ham. Free shipping on a great drawer system for your truck.
What about our friends at DraftKings? Download the DraftKings app, daily fantasy, promo code HAM when you do. Get in our league.
That was the other thing Kyle Shanahan said today. He's like, practice. I just try to tell these guys it's like practice, except they can hit you. Well,
what about this, though, guys?
That's just your pocket clock now, right? The play doesn't continue after you've been touched.
If he's not starting, which, doesn't really feel like he will, but there's a lot of times left, he's going to play in the Lions game, right? And early on in the season, are you going to bust out all these runs?
He'll get a package? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Are you going to bust out all these runs in the game? Like, you need to practice them. Do you even care? It's like, it is what it is. Like, we run these plays.
Are you saying because you want to make sure you can get like 3-4 games in, Jimmy's still healthy before you start exposing Trey Lance? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying, like, you don't want other teams to see your plays going into the regular season.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, his run plays are nothing like Jimmy's. So there is never a play that you and I have seen at practice when he's running the ball that they've ever run since Kyle Shanahan has been with the 49ers. And now they've added those plays. You need to practice them in a game and just say, screw it. He's one of our better players.
Wouldn't you argue we're playing 11 on 11 if my quarterback is actually a run-pass threat? There's not a whole lot you can do defense. Like, there's not some secret. It's just he's going to read and he'll make a decision.
Yeah,
so show the plays and just make teams get ready for it. Because that's the other thing, right?
They're pretty prevalent in the NFL now. You would just go to North Dakota State, and I think you'd watch some of those plays and go, this is probably what they're going to do. And it's like, yeah, it's basically what the Niners do.
Give them something else to prepare for, John.
Yeah. But they already are. That's what I'm saying. So they're already preparing, but they don't know what's coming. You run that play. It kind of does show that you're going to do some of the zone read, RPO type stuff. I would Jimmy do it. Some RPO. Yeah, I think they're going to.
I would do it in practice and say, we're going to try and get our guy better because we think if we execute this play, it's 6 yards and you're not stopping it.
Against the Chiefs, you would do.
Yeah, I would run. You're not going to do everything, but I would do some of that with Trey Lance. I want Trey Lance to get ready to play. And again, I think if those are plays that if your guy's skilled enough to run them, you can't stop them.
Would you run the up the gut?
No,
quarterback run.
That one I would not.
I wouldn't.
He already knows how to run that. I would not run that play.
I would only do you're outside the tackle box where worst case scenario you can hit the ground and be safe. I would not do up the gut stuff. Nothing guard to guard. We ain't, a lot of riffraff in there. A lot of people falling on people. That's going to be a play they're definitely going to run. I just don't know if I'm running that in the preseason. We got a lot of, what did Mike McCarthy call them? Harry High School, Johnny Tryhards. You just got a lot of people, even your seconds, like the
trying to make their mojo moments.
Game, yeah, they're just trying to show the team they should be starters, right? Or like I'm better than the third string guy who's nipping at my heels. It's a scary time, I think, sometimes when some of the randoms start getting in there. It's one thing when your true backups are there. You're like, okay, this guy, especially on defense, backups play a lot, right? Rotational linebackers,
right?
All the defense, like a backup defensive line, he might go, I make $3 million and I play on average 28 snaps a game, right? So it's like he's a normal player, but there are going to just be some, like the safety doesn't quite know what he's doing. Maybe some practice squad guys who have never been in a game. The offensive linemen, to me, and this is back to the quarterbacks where it gets a little scary. Those guys just, sometimes there's a distinct drop-off between a backup and a starter.
Well, in this case, I would say there is.
Well, think about center. Like, I don't even know who's
Trent Williams, Alex Mack?
Yeah.
There's going to be a drop-off.
Big time.
Right? Even...
McGlinchey's played a lot.
Yes, there's a drop. There's a drop. Starting, John, it's not all of them, but I'd be interested if I hadn't really thought about this, after quarterback, where we would say the biggest drop-off happens from starter to backup usually, right? Most teams in the league there aren't 32 really good starters.
There are a lot of teams with like good backup pass rushers, right?
What position has the biggest drop-off after that?
Tackle. Because we've seen it. Every team has like Kendrick Bournes who can have like 9-catch games, right? Like your backup wide receiver.
Yeah, it's not receiver.
It's definitely not. It's not running back.
Corner,
I guess star middle linebacker, but yeah, corner. It'd be tackle or corner. But your corner.
How about center?
More corners are in the same realm. There's only a couple corners. Like there is I'd say about 20 starting tackles are just pretty, obviously Trent and some of these guys are the high end guys, but like most teams feel pretty good about their left and right tackle. A lot of teams do not feel good about their backup tackle. They're like, oh my God, if this guy has to play, we're screwed.
Yeah. You're right. If you did the Sando tiers list on corners, it'd be like 4 tier 1 guys, everyone else.
How many star corners can you even name?
Yeah.
I think there's less now than ever, but there are still a lot of big-time offensive linemen in the league. God makes those people.
Well, look,
I think a lot of guys at corner have been it's just way sexier now than ever to play wide receiver, even though there's a lot of money to be made if you're a legit corner. Like they make like $18 million. Well, Xavier Howard just got a raise.
There's more snaps.
He was already making 15.
Just like there's more receivers, there's got to be more corners now because everyone's throwing the ball more. You're doing your 7-on-7 camps. There's just a lot of.
There's a lot of money to be made at corner.
You play a lot of snaps. You could argue there's less competition. Like you should play corner. Maybe you can stand out more because everyone's playing receiver.
Yeah.
And everyone's looking for a corner because there's such depth at receiver. To go back to Trey for a second, I think one of the things Kyle Shanahan said was that you wouldn't mind seeing a little adversity to see how he handles. It'll be interesting, right? If the offensive line isn't giving him a lot of time. Obviously, we're all watching it. We get playing with the 1s and the 2s is different. But how does he handle that? Because as much as it can be a detriment to how you play, it's also an opportunity. If you elevate those guys around you, if you elevate the 2s, if you're leading scoring drives with the 2s, now that's something we say, oh, look, you did that with the 2s, you get extra. It's a little bit of extra credit. So it's an opportunity.
Well, as Mike McDaniel, I've never heard a coach say that. Like, we look forward to coaching him up on the good, and hopefully there's some bad too. And he's right. I think a lot of coaches think like that. They just don't say that because you're not trying to put like bad vibes into the air. But then Kyle kind of got asked about it. But he's right. Like you I think sometimes it can happen in the preseason, and this I learned early on from Louis Riddick that like production. Back when there were 4 preseason games, by the 4th preseason game, there'd be a dude with like 3 touchdowns and 400 yards. They'd be like, well, what's the context? You'd be like, well, he had a lot of big runs in the 4th quarter of these games. Or a quarterback with a really high completion percentage. And I heard someone say, maybe it was NFL radio the last couple weeks, and they were remembering the first time. Oh, it was Mike Lombardi saying that he saw Kurt Warner on preseason tape. And you remember like asking one of his scouts, like, who the hell is this guy? And he was just saying the talent. Because sometimes in preseason, if I just see a box score of like a backup quarterback, you're like, God, he went 10 of 12. Kyle's like, well, it could be a lot of dump-offs, right? So it's like Trey, we could manipulate his numbers, and especially in this offense, right? Some of the nakeds and the news and the dump. But I want to see him just 5-step drop, fucking some, intermediate to deep breaking routes. Like, how does he fucking throw it, right? How accurate is he? And that you have to kind of, the good thing, if you're the offensive coordinator, you can set it up to see what he can do in certain situations. Because in this offense, you could give him, I think Jordan Love's a guy that's going to play a lot. I saw Rodgers isn't playing. You can make it so it's relatively easy in this offense. Just do a lot of runs and then do nakeds and nudes, right? Which is part of the offense, but like,
it's not the reality of the world, which is guaranteed adversity.
Because in that offense, like even when McVay, Kyle, and LaFleur with Rodgers been on, that's usually how their drives start, right? Just run, naked, run, nude, just a bunch of, and it can just gash you. You're like, what a first 15 from McVay, right? And then by the second quarter, all that bullshit's kind of gone. You're just like, well, it's 3rd and 8, let's see what you got.
Yep.
All these guys, though, their first 15 looks relatively similar, especially if the runs are hitting a little bit. It's like, oh, play action's coming. And then it's like Kittle wide open, there's Higbee. And then all of Twitter's like, LaFleur, what a first 15 from LaFleur. Well, yeah, because when this offense works, it's fucking unstoppable. And that's where Rodgers is like, once he embraced it, you then have to like become a player. It's just not everything just as easy after your first couple drives.
Right. Eventually, you're the player. You have to make the plays. You have to overcome bad play calls. You have to make decisions.
Would you agree, though, in this offense, when it's just scripted perfectly, that first drive's like, oh, damn.
Well, when it starts with a 17-yard run, that's how you know it's going to be a good day for the offense.